Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you're new. In this video, we're going to be discussing HEX and giving you an update on the regression rainbow models, right? All of our regression rainbow models. So if you like this kind of quantitative approach to the HEX charts, leave a thumbs up. Be subscribed by the end of the video if you aren't by now. Let's get to 4,000 subs. Let's talk about these regression rainbow models. So for those of you who are new, just a real quick overview, hopefully less than a minute. If you're familiar with how we derive these models, just go ahead and skip this, but this is for those of you who are new. What we did is we simply gathered a pretty easy support line it's pretty easy to spot, right? And you can see the support line if you go to the uniswap.hex.vision and type in hex USDC in the search bar and choose Uniswap V1 because this chart has the most history back into December of 2019, okay? When this project or this coin launched. And so there's this very, very clear support line that hasn't ever really broken and formed full market structure beneath, right? And so this support line allows us to do a linear regression on the data to see what the equation of that line actually is. Now, not only that, I thought to myself, well, what if we look at how far extended price got above the support line to basically normalize all of the data to the support line, and we did that as well. So once we did all that and fit our curve to these 5 data clusters, well, originally we only fit it to these 4, right? And then price came right down to our expected support, which was incredible. And so once we came over here, with price, I refit the data to include these 2 days as well, which all it really did was tilt over the slope of the support line a tiny bit to the downside, which it makes sense, right? Over time, you'd expect diminishing returns. So refitting the data, you'd expect, right, for it to start curving over a little bit. And we get something like this. Now, once again, this pink line comes from this max extension from our fit, and so it's only based on a few data points as opposed to something like the red curve, which is fit to literally dozens of days of data. And so every point in between, right, is more or less kind of arbitrary. Like I could have chosen to split this up into 10 regions or 3 regions or 7 regions, and that in and of itself is up to the discretion of the one creating the model itself. So I guess you can argue that the red, the pink, and the green are the real mathematically significant ones because they are our actual fit, our max extension from fit, and then the midpoint, right, the midline. So this is our chart, and we did a lot of analysis on this back in the early days of the regression rainbow, and then we sort of went on to look at the Fibonacci space model. So we'll start with this one, and then we'll slowly flow into the next one. But on the equidistant model, right, we're right below yellow, as you can tell, and we've been there a few times. And this to me looks very, very similar, once again, to this over here. And we've talked about this fractal that we could see play out over time. So what happened here is we came up from finding support on the red approximately to the yellow, orange, yellow oscillation around here, more or less, before blast off. And where are we now? Well, we came off support from the red into the yellow, back almost to the orange, yellow, and we're oscillating around the yellow. We're right beneath it. So, in my opinion, a decisive move above the yellow could see us hit code green and beyond, maybe even blue, purple, pink. So be on the lookout for code green video, code blue video. I never made one of those before because we started making videos around here, so that'll be fun to watch play out over time. Now, if you normalize the fit to the actual red curve, then the entire rainbow tilts over to become a nice flat rainbow. And so you can better tell where we are relative to the rainbow, right? You can better tell where price is relative to the model like this, because everything's not tilted over. And so like I said, we're right beneath the yellow, and we're forming a nice big bull flag. Like This bull flag over here, you could call it a bull flag, I think is way more powerful looking than something like this. It's just larger in magnitude, more spread out. It just looks like the big brother version of this little bull flag guy over here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw sort of a stretched out, lengthened move relative to something like this, where instead of just pumping straight up into pink in like a few weeks, maybe it takes us a few months to reach it, or maybe we kind of reach a lower level as opposed to pink. So regardless, all of these levels are like just to give you an example real quick, purple is still 5x away from here, which a 5x would not be a small move, okay? So just wanted to point that out on our equidistant regression rainbow. And if we look at our Fibonacci space model, we get the same thing on the red, the pink, and the green curve, but everything in between is slightly different to accommodate for Fibonacci levels. So instead of having like 1/6 and 2/6 right here, so instead of the 16% and 33% level, we're using Fibonacci levels, which you can argue have more significance. And you can even tell, right? Like, look at this 0.618 level, just wicked right up to, or not wicked, but just came right up to it perfectly. So there's some you can make the argument for this one or the other one, but again, I've argued that maybe this fit has more mathematical significance on all levels. So you can choose. They're both on LookIntoHex.com. You can go ahead and check them out for free. Keep updated with them every single day. But the blue level right now, just to give you an idea, is approximately 2.5x away, which would put Hex at around 20 cents or so if it pumped up to the blue today. And these levels are moving up. Keep in mind that this is the actual rainbow on the price chart, so these levels are moving up. These are more so to give you an understanding of where we are relative to the rainbow with our Hex price. So that's that. I mean, I'll do better at not like moving my mouse and my screen so quickly. I've gotten comments about that I need to kind of slow down with that. But yeah, I think this looks good. Again, I've said this many times that as long as we're between orange and yellow, I think we're pretty much still on track. I don't think anything really exciting is left to be said, really, other than now we wait. So there's another regression rainbow model that I'm going to touch on right now, and that's this one. It's basically this exact same model, but we also include the ether regression rainbow, which all we did is the exact same thing. I went back to the ether chart and asked myself, like, okay, is there a line, a support line that held, and in a way that it's a very clear support line, right? And yes, that is the case. We did the math, we fit the model, and with 31 days of data points, we got this support line, which you can see was support in this cluster of days over here, back here as well as this whole region of support. And interestingly enough, the actual maximum extension from our fit on the ether regression rainbow, so on the hex one, it was 20.6, right? On the ether regression rainbow, interestingly enough, 20.3 or so. So ether reached the same extension from its exponential fit as hex did from its exponential fit. So I think that's really interesting. Very, very interesting. The fact that they are like so close, overextended from their exponential fits. But also it's very interesting how they have very, very different chart formations, where Hex reached that 20x above exponential fit around day 100 and something, May of 2020, whereas Ether bubbled up to only the purple, right, for that first sort of bubble, and then had a nice double peak into the pink later on. So pretty interesting. And so if you overlay the ether regression rainbow, or underlay, beneath the extension from fit for Hex, then you can see, like I was saying, ether only reached purple, whereas Hex reached pink, and it looks like Hex is performing faster and a little harder than ether up to now, at least on some points, right? Like over here, ether was a little higher than this peak on Hex, but Hex was higher here on this peak than ether was. and so on. So you can continue to see it, like a lower high on Ether over here, lower high on HEX over here, then a third lower high. You could say one of these is the third lower high, fourth lower high, and then we just kept on going down until we reached our exponential fit, and then here we are. So what Ether did next is, it's pretty clear here, right? What Ether did next was it came out of the depths of this region, came up to form a nice little, I guess, bull flag, bullish formation, before having what we talked about, this kind of double bubble into the pink region, which we've talked about. We've talked about in a previous video when I said you guys might not be ready for this sort of projection, but it says something like, look, October 21st, pink. And all you have to do is go into LookIntoHex.com regression rainbow and look at October 21st, what the pink level corresponds to, $2.33. And then if we do reach the second bubble into the pink on May 24th of next year, then it's even more intense, because you see that May 24th of next year, the pink level corresponds to $26 or so. Which, I mean, think about it. Just think about it. Back here, Ether was literally in the dollars, right? It was literally just in the dollars. So do you think someone could have expected, when Ether was $10, $20, $30, for it to ever hit $1,500? I know it's hard to imagine in the moment, but as time passes, you start normalizing these higher prices, and things just they can just keep going up. Okay, not financial advice, just your generic disclaimer for this video. But I mean, there are so many different ways to frame it to you, but at the end of the day, you kind of run out of ways of saying that price can just keep going up and leave you behind. Right? Even if you don't think it's possible to reach these levels of $20, just wait. Literally just wait. Not saying it's going to happen. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. No one actually knows what's going to happen. Fun fact. But just some food for thought. So I've been wondering if I should include this chart on the website. If so, it would probably be it'd probably honestly just be on these. Like, I would just update these extension from fit models, and here where it says extension, I would just relabel this HEX extension and then include another one for ETH extension, just like we did over here, right? So I mean, I can do that if you guys want, if I get enough comments. Yeah, how about that? Let's make you guys work for it. If I get enough comments saying, how about this? Now, how about this? Definitely include the comments, but how about let's get this video to 400 likes? If we can get this video to 400 likes, then I will include the Ether regression rainbow projection, this extension from Fit, on LookIntoHex.com on these. And I'll include it on both the equidistant one and the Fibonacci spaced one, so you can tell where HEX is relative to Ether's regression rainbow when it had its run back in the day. So get this video to 400 likes and we'll do that. Now, just kind of a final note I wanted to point out, because someone did reach out and say something that we've covered, but I wanted to point it out again regardless, in case you haven't heard, that this model, will not hold forever, right? At least I don't think it will. I don't think it'll hold forever. I'm pretty certain it probably won't, okay? And what does that mean? Well, in my opinion, I think this can hold for at least 2-3 years from the beginning. So that would be anywhere up to like what you see here, right? It could last in the summer of next year or maybe a little more. Why? Well, because Ether did. Ether held its exponential regression for about 3-ish years. And HEX seems to be outperforming on multiple levels. We see that on the HEX ETH valuation, on the HEX versus Ether ROI from launch. On this, when we overlay them, we see that HEX is performing harder and faster. So 3 years is a conservative estimate for how long this rainbow can hold, in my opinion, which I think it's on the conservative side. And so what happens when it doesn't hold anymore? Well, again, I received a message saying, well, maybe you should do logarithmic regression where the curve actually bends over as opposed to just being like a straight beam, right? So it would be more like the Bitcoin log regression charts you see. And yes, I completely agree. I would love to fit the data to something like that. But we don't have the data yet. When will we have the data? Well, if price is ever to break beneath the red curve, and that doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow. It means it can happen in a year, 2 years. So if price ever breaks beneath the red line and starts forming significant market structure beneath it, I'm not talking about a wick or a little fake out of a couple days. I'm talking about a decisive break beneath it, full ass market structure beneath it for days, weeks, getting far extended below it and forming new market structure. At that point is when we'll have, in my opinion, the accumulation bottom data necessary to actually fit to a logarithmic model. So again, if we ever break beneath this and start forming significant market structure, then we'll have new data points for which we can say, okay, this is no longer a linear regression because let's just lay it out over here. Like if, let's say price were to just continue on, do its thing, probably not something like that, right? Whatever, it's doing its thing, and then it breaks beneath it and starts forming actual, like I was saying, full market structure beneath it. Then at that point, that's when we can start using these data points to fit something that'll probably look more so something like this, right? Something that starts bending over instead of having this line that just goes straight up, right? At that point. But again, we actually need the data. We need a price to actually do that before we can say, well, like before we can, precisely with significance project something like this. So this was just a quick little rough drawing, but I'm kind of impressed at how it turned out. But yeah, this is exactly my point. This is exactly what's in my head. What I'm trying to get across is that we need new data points to actually fit it to a different model that accounts for diminishing returns. We first need to see those diminishing returns be printed in the charts. So that's just my take on that. I hope that cleared some things up for those of you who are maybe wondering the same thing. And great question. Like that's actually a very intelligent comment, question, suggestion that I received. So more of those. But yeah, let me know if you guys want me to include this. Get this thing in 400 likes and we'll do it. And I think that's everything I wanted to mention in this video. We covered all of our regression rainbow models, equidistant, Fibonacci, comparing it to ether regression rainbow, talked about how diminishing returns will come into play over time. Yeah, I think that's it. So appreciate you watching. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy this kind of quantitative approach to the HEX charts. Be subscribed. Let's get to 4,000 subs. And go ahead and follow on Twitter. We're growing on both platforms, so thank you guys so much. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.